now betting a change in the lineup for Rob King, Larry Richert, and the big man. Offset. So, Jay, someone checking this out for the first time, wouldn't know the difference, but you've built up quite a following. And Rob King, who's a great friend of yours, I consider him a friend of mine.
Absolutely.
You know him actually a lot better from all your years doing hockey in particular with Rob. Rob's commitment level in football season jumps substantially, which you would expect as the voice of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'll be sitting in, and there's the lineup change. So I guess we could just say Larry and the big man.
Yep, that's it. And we're very happy that you could be a part of it and join us. And Rob's commitment, it went to another level when we understand it with the Steelers. And Rob was great when we all started this. And we're very happy that you could be the man in line and doing a great job.
Yeah, and Rob King, what a talent. And for him to have the opportunity now in his second season, after Bill Hillgrove for 30 years, it's hard, I would imagine, to follow a legend. And he's carved his own style, which is, people always tell you in the business, just be who you are.
Yeah.
And I think Rob has done a great job at that. So we wish him all the best this season. Yep. And his new partner, Max Starks, in the booth.
That to me still, there's such a, Craig Wolfley was such a, he and his wife Faith, they were just wonderful and just so nice. And then there's such a sad story. And how the impact that it's had, because he had an impact on everybody when they listened to games from when he did high school games together.
I loved it.
I know, it's just such a sad thing. And again, now Max Starks gets a great opportunity for him. And, I know he feels that same side too, what it meant and to be around Wolf and what he meant, and he and Rob together, but now a new team.
But that actually ties us together because we played on a charities celebrity team.
We did. Yeah.
Jay obviously represented a group of great former Penguins, and we were always honored to be with them, and then some media guys. But we also had some Pittsburgh Steelers. One was Jack Lambert. They called him Lurch on skates. And we could talk about that someday.
Well, I do have to say once, there was this one time, so like Rick Taka and I, it was an all-star break.
I remember this.
Rick Taka and I went to skate. We just kind of kept skating at Harmerville, it was. And Lambert was meeting us on the ice, and he wanted to go through some of the drills we were doing, and then we were all going to get a bite to eat. Have to go to Hofstad's to get a bite to eat. So while we're out there talking, we always worked on a little fighting, wrestling stuff on the ice, and Lambert gets involved, and he takes it to a whole nother level. There's still a picture, I think, there was a picture taken there, the three of us, and I do believe it's still in the bar at Hofstad's. But that day,
it got a little physical.
It got physical, and we blame Lambert for that. You could have blamed all three. Yeah, what a shot. But great, he loved it.
So for Light of Life Rescue Mission for Craig Wolfley, and also, those two guys, Tunch and Wolf, they also, I was reminded, played hockey with us in the very beginning.
Yeah.
And we had to tell Tunch, you're not allowed to just wipe guys out in the front of the net like you're playing on the line, right? You can't do that. And Faith, Wolf's wife, reminded me, he played a little too. So you're a half person from everybody in Pittsburgh, and those guys were great. And everybody that we enjoyed doing those charity games with, were really good guys. And so Tunch and Wolf greatly missed. What a partnership they had.
Yeah, it's amazing loss and missing key pieces, but they just passed on they left so many good things behind with them, and great guys.
That said, so Jay calls me. He said, Rob King's not going to be able to do the season. Hey, would you be willing to do the podcast with me? I said, Jay, are you sure? And he said, well, we've interviewed many times over the years. Jay, you've been gracious enough during Penguin seasons, Cup years, win, lose, or draw, to come on and talk about the issues of the day. So I'm very appreciative of you asking me to be a part of this. Should be a lot of fun. I'm not a sports guru. I just tee up the people that do know what they're talking about.
Well, I've always told you, I thought when you get interviewed in about hockey or whatever, and in the NHL, and when you do an interview from Canadian, TV stations or, NHL network radio. There's a level of interview that it's very knowledgeable. And all my interviews for as many years that we've been doing it, Larry, you've always had such a great job. This is a natural fit. We'd love if Rob was with us as well, but for you to be here and with your busy schedule as well, with what you do with the Steelers and your morning duties and everything that goes with that, we're thrilled. I'm thrilled we can do it together.
And what I like is we have the support of our Odyssey stations, 93.7 The Fan, which does a great job with their sports crews. So you'll be seeing and hearing from some of the guys. In fact, first up will be Andrew Fillipponi, who does the PM team show with Chris Muller in the afternoon. And we'll get to Andrew in just a minute. He's kind of a savant, Jay.
Yeah.
He really is. I mean, he is somebody that takes a deep dive. He has a national footprint, and he works very hard on his craft. But I think football is kind of his, if he had, in terms of daily knowledge of the sport, it's definitely football. So we'll get his take.
Yeah, I'm really happy about that. I mean, we're getting into the NFL season, and we know, we're just a couple of weeks away from the start of it. And to have Andrew or anybody else from the Fan that's that wants to join us on that weekly side of it to talk Steelers in the NFL, it's outstanding. But he certainly does. He's been here. I don't know. Is it pushing 15 years? Is he?
He was one of the founding talent on 93.7 The Fan when they flipped over to all sports, and they're really successful. So it's nice to have this strategic partnership. Brian Hess, One Team Media, and all the great talent that put all this together. It just doesn't happen. There's a team behind the team.
Yeah, I think that too. Brian and the guys, you mentioned One Team Media. They've been outstanding. We're lucky enough here at North Park Lounge with our friend great friend Brad Justin, and one of our bigger sponsors with Rourke Automotive Group.
First guest, as it should be, is a big name. And Andrew Fillipponi, who is the star of the PM team, 93.7 The Fan, and a founding member. For those that don't know, Andrew went to Syracuse University. That's hallowed ground in the broadcast industry. And, of course, he has a national footprint, and he's been doing this, 15 years at The Fan?
Yeah, February 2010, we launched, and I never left. And we've had some amazing moments in those 15 years. 2 Penguin Stanley Cups. Yeah. Jay was a big part of our show during those runs when I was working with Ron Cook, who now is in Fort Myers and doesn't pay for a meal anymore. Which actually, that hasn't changed. That's pretty consistent with how things were when he was up here in Pittsburgh.
Those that remember Ron, I don't know, Andrew. I don't know, but I love Ben Roethlisberger. Let's be honest. Meanwhile, this is it. Really prime time for anyone that loves football. It's the only time that the NFL kind of gives up one little weekend, which is a big weekend for college football, because you have this big break between the end of the preseason now and the...
First off, can I say how sour everybody was that there wasn't a Thursday night game? Everybody's just dying for football to get going. It starts. There's no Thursday night game. Is there a Monday night game? I don't know. They just got to stay on some kind of routine because football season, everything evolves around football season. We all know that.
Yeah, and they actually give up Labor Day weekend to college football. So let's start with what you saw Saturday night. We know preseason football is what it is, but what was your takeaway?
Well, the biggest one for me is not a positive one, unfortunately, and that's the fact that they didn't run the ball well with the starters in the game again. And the consensus among the Steelers media who have been out at training camp is that that's been an area of their team that has lagged behind the entire time. Now, Sayamalu was hurt at the beginning. He's obviously their longest tenured, most veteran, and probably most consistent offensive lineman. So he's worked back in. The pass protection, I think, for the first 2 games with those guys has actually been really good. I think they've given Mason Rudolph a chance to make plays. So I'm optimistic about that because you're going to need that with a 41-year-old quarterback. But you're also going to need to be able to run the ball and stay balanced. And they have not found, from what I've heard, even on days in practice where they've done team drills and the first team offense has gone against the first team defense, they have not strung together any good days. And now that we're in this break period that you talked about, Larry, they better hunker down and get together and figure out how they can address that and fix that before they go to New York week 1.
Yeah, and I think too, Pony, the part of whenever you hear a head coach early in camp, or I still consider early in camp, you're calling out certain players. And if the running game and the running back, their top pick, their number one pick as far as running backs go, for me, that's kind of like they're putting a spotlight on it right away. Had a better game, had a better second game. But yeah, if you do not get it, we know how it works in the NFL. You don't have a running game, it's going to make it very difficult. Aaron Rodgers, I thought the two quarterbacks, both guys have looked really good there, but they're mobile. Those guys have been moving around. So I think, to your point, Andrew, I think that, man, they got to find it, and they got to find it quick. There's not a lot of, they don't have, and even in the NHL, you have so much time to make your mark and prove. Are you responsible enough? Are they going to rely on you? And if you cannot find a running game, and we know Jalen Warren's, there's a difference there, but you need to find something else. And whether it's up front, or the guys aren't hitting the holes, or they're not hitting them quick enough, there's a mix of all of it.
So who doesn't make it in the quarterback room? Is that really obvious?
I think so. I mean, unless Will Howard's hand injury is serious enough where you think, it's worth putting him on a restricted list or IR list for the entire season. I mean, even if you were to do a short-term thing with him, those are a finite number of spots. And I wouldn't want to use that necessarily for a guy that projects as your third-string quarterback anyways. So my guess is he starts the year as the third quarterback behind Rudolph Howard. And then I think Thompson gets cut. And look, he looked, I think, awesome in the first preseason game against Jacksonville. I thought he really stood out. Yep. Made plays both in the pocket, on the run, decisive decisions. They were ones that weren't really turnover worthy, or like, oh my God, what was he thinking on that play? But he's 28 years old. I think the NFL thinks the book is out on him and knows what he is. I wouldn't be surprised if he got picked up. But I don't think the Steelers would get a draft pick for him, Larry. And I also don't think they want to burn a practice squad spot on a guy who's never going to get reps in practice. A fourth-string quarterback doesn't play.
It's pretty rare they keep a fourth-string quarterback on the practice squad.
I think they're giving him extra looks, too. To Pony's point, you're giving him more time maybe to expose himself to the rest of the league or whatever. I thought he's looked great, too. I think he's looked very good, but is that going to fit in what the Steelers are doing? I don't think so either. And when you invest a pick in Will Howard, it's kind of the way it goes. It's a tough – when you look at the players that are in that position, Pony, you see across the league, you watch other games, the guys that are just trying to make a mark or get an opportunity in a preseason game, how important it is to them. And some make a mark and some don't. And we all call it. We know anytime you see a guy fumble a punt or muff a punt, right away the first thing out of everybody's mouth is, there he goes. He's not. If you throw a pick as a quarterback trying to make a mark, same thing. So I think I think on those points it's very difficult. But getting an extended look is good for him because he is kind of showing something. And he said the first game was really good.
I felt bad for Pitt's former kicker who was, kicking lights out last year. He had a chance for a 43-yard field goal, didn't make it. And I thought, man, you got to make those at this level, even though it's preseason. I know Chris Boswell's established himself. He's not going anywhere. But I was hoping Ben Sauls would make that.
Again, I'm saying it's so any mistake you make, or you got to take advantage of every situation you have. I compare it to the NHL because I've been through that side of it. But even when I was in college football, you get your opportunities, your reps, and you have to be on top of it wherever it falls. Preseason games in the NFL, you have one look. You got to look, and you got to make the most of it. For a kicker, yeah, I'm sorry. You can't. It's a tough mess for him.
I saw Tony Romo, Jim Nance, they're queuing up their season, and one of the takeaways was that they think, particularly Jim Nance, that the Steelers with Aaron Rodgers are a better football team. They think most of the media has maligned Rodgers' play last year, and they said, well, when you look at the numbers, it's better than they say.
Well, I think the numbers for Russell Wilson were not bad in Denver. Okay, so we got sucked into that trap last year when we looked at the touchdowns, the interceptions for Wilson. Everybody said Denver made a mistake letting him go and drafting Bo Nix, and as it turned out, that's one of the best moves Denver ever made because Nix threw 29 touchdowns, more than Rodgers last year, and they made the playoffs in his rookie season. I would say I'm cautiously optimistic on Rodgers, but the cautiously part is it's in bigger font and it's underlined and it's bold because, Jay, you know this. I mean, you've worked with Mario. You've trained world-class athletes. the level of competition is clearly the best. And so there's a reason why in the entire history of the NFL, over 100 years of football, we've only seen one guy at 41 years old play at an all-pro level, and that was Tom Brady.
Right.
And I'm sorry. Like, Aaron said a lot of the right things, and I think he's made a very good first impression on people, but I just don't think he has the same commitment to football as Tom Brady. I don't really think anybody does. And I think that maniacal competitive edge that Brady had separated him from his peers and everybody else. That's why I think Sid is going to play into his 40s if he wants, and he's still going to be one of the best players in the league, because 365 days, he got up this morning and he said to himself, what can I do today to make myself the best hockey player possible?
Yeah. Right.
And look, I think Aaron Rodgers has got so much going on in his life. I don't think you can have 1 foot in your post-football life and 1 foot in playing now. And he said he wants to have fun this year. I'm sorry, Tom Brady would never say that. Tom Brady,
no, I do agree.
His goal, he would not say my goal this year is to have fun. He'd say my goal is to come here and win. And so I think Aaron Rodgers is just trying to get the bad taste out of what happened in New York out of his mouth. And I really believe if the Steelers have the season they had last year with him at quarterback, just make the playoffs, I think Rodgers would be fine going out that way.
See, for me, I feel the part you just touched on at the end, I think he does not want to end his career the way it went, what we saw in New York, right? We know the injury, understand that. When he came back, understand that. I think that might be the one thing to go with your story that's going to be the driving force to give him that little bit of an edge. Maybe it's different. Nobody's like Tom Brady, totally agree. Nobody's like Sidney Crosby. Totally agree with those 2 points. I think that one thing, do I want to go out the way that looked in New York? No. I will say, I watched a lot of the Jets games all last year because I like watching it. You watch those quarterbacks. It's a shame when we see that type of quarterback out of the game, right? Because that's a big part. There's no release like that. I've talked to a number of guys over there too. There's still nobody releases the ball like Aaron Rodgers, right? So if you take that and can apply it to a game, that's fine. But I watched him last year with the Jets. Their defense, he gave them 5 leads late in the game and they blew it. Now, what would that be different? I'm not saying their team would have been that much different, but their defense let them down when he gave them a lead, maybe a little jump or something. So I'm hoping that the Steelers, what they're doing defensively is going to be a whole different window than what we saw in New York. That's the only thing that I'm going to go on with Pony here, say, yeah, they need that. Their D has to be on top of it, has to be stellar, and give them short fields and things and let them feel the game. But I do think in New York, they blew so many leads late after he gave them the opportunity for a win, and it didn't happen. And I'm hoping that he doesn't want that taste in his mouth either, like Pony said.
Well,
I agree.
NFL schedule maker must be Nostradamus. It's amazing how many of these intrigue games, like going up to New York to play the Jets with Fields up there.
Yeah.
And by the way, Russell Wilson, who they said couldn't throw over the middle, did you see over the weekend? He threw over the middle.
I'm also nervous about their whole philosophy on how they played it with him leading up to this first game. My preference would have been to see Aaron Rodgers in preseason football because it's a new coaching staff that he's working with. Really, the offenses he's played in, including New York, have been designed for him. I mean, one of the reasons why he went to New York is because they gave him permission to bring all of his buddies with him. So the offensive coordinator, Nate Hackett, was the guy who worked with the Packers. They brought in receivers to make himself more comfortable. To his credit and to the Steelers' credit, they didn't do that here.
Yeah.
But the schedule is so much easier at the beginning that I think it's vital for them to win those games. And I think part of that is you want your offense to be as close to midseason form as possible when they get on the field the first weekend in September. And I don't know how it could be.
Yeah.
I don't know how it could be when you really have no in-stadium reps with them, Jay. I think that's a missed opportunity by them. I'm sorry.
I understand guys not playing games and making a schedule. I understand that part of it, that first thought, but I also know you want to feel the game. It's a different speed. Everything is different. And I know the veteran players, I understand that, injuries, how they occur, but you got to get a feel for the game. And I'm with you on that. I wish they had more reps. Give them 2 series, 1-2 series and get out. And then do that I would have rather seen that.
And Jay, I think you'll agree with this. It's one thing if Jay goes over the boards and has played in the NHL for a number of years and knows the speed, but he doesn't necessarily know if he's got new line mates or different defensive pairing, how everyone's going to coalesce and come together. That's the Rodgers situation. He has not played with anybody in their offense. He's never heard Arthur Smith send a play into him in a game. So I just would have wanted to see them get that rust off and work out those kinks in August, not September.
All right, that said, how do you stack the AFC North?
Well, I know I'm on an island here because everybody thinks that their season is going to blow up because of the defense last year, and now Hendrickson is, at loggerheads with the Bengals, and it looks like he might get traded. I just think the NFL has designed the game now where it's so overwhelmingly in favor of the offense that when they got Burrow back with those two receivers, they got off to such a wretched start last year. They still won 9 games. He threw 43 touchdowns. I think he's the best quarterback in the NFL right now. I think he's better at this moment. I think he's better than Mahomes, not a better career, but I think at this very second, he's better than Mahomes, Allen, and Jackson. Wow. So I love the Bengals this year, even with a lot of the struggles they had protecting him and playing defense last year.
I with the Bengals, I cannot believe over the last few years the terrible starts that they've had.
1-9 in weeks 1 and week 2.
It's unbelievable to me.
With the coach there, Zach Taylor. But to go against what I said, they're playing all their guys in the preseason this year.
Yeah.
They said the heck with that. Against the Eagles, they played starters for the first quarter, Jay.
Yep. No, we'll go back to, you mentioned Sidney Crosby. Sidney Crosby wants to get he wants so many feels in preseason. You don't want to, go opening night, you're dropping a puck, you haven't played a preseason game. I understand different sports, different things, but you got to get that look. I agree with what Cincinnati's doing this year because the starts were terrible. Anybody in those suicide pools, how many people got bumped because figured Cincinnati's had they had some easy games.
Week 1 last year, just
so
8%.
So to me, there's such a bad start. It can't happen. And look how it cost them every time. It cost them, but they did battle back. And Joe Burrow is outstanding. I think when you look at Baltimore, you just don't. There's always something with the Ravens, but I think across the board, I think that's going to be difficult as well.
It's a little X factor for the Ravens in their kicking game. So you're stacking them: Cincinnati, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and then those guys.
I don't like the Ravens. I don't think that this is their year. I keep hearing that. They remind me a lot of. They remind me actually a lot more of Washington teams that you guys beat.
Yep.
Where every year they'd run into the Penguins in the playoffs. They'd think they'd have their number. They'd go up 3-1. They'd lose.
Right.
Baltimore, but for them, it's not just a Chiefs bugaboo. They've lost to the Titans in the playoffs. They've lost to the Bills now twice in the playoffs. They can't, if Lamar Jackson retired today, he couldn't say with a straight face, Patrick Mahomes is the reason why I don't have Super Bowls. Because they're not just losing to Kansas City in the playoffs. They're getting beat by other teams. He does not have a good record against the Steelers, although to his credit, the playoff game last year in the late regular season game in Baltimore, he got that monkey off his back and then some. I mean, he dominated the Steelers in both.
Of all times for their tight end, who's one of the more reliable tight ends, and we know that's the way it goes. There was 2. I think the same thing happened with Buffalo, right? The tight end dropped the ball on Allen, but the one that he missed in the end zone would have been maybe start to get him over the hump. But I don't know what you're going to get at, but I think through the regular season, right? Are they going to get over the hump in postseason? Regular season, Cincinnati and Baltimore, that's pretty tough to face 4 times for you.
All right, who ends up in the Super Bowl?
So, this will come back to bite me because these predictions always do, but I love it. That's why we do this stuff. Right now, at this very second, okay, the 2 teams I'm leaning towards because I like teams that have obviously the quarterback play, but also now people are starting to pick against them. It scares me when everybody thinks one thing about a team. So my Super Bowl right now is actually the Bengals and the Lions. Because I feel like the Lions are being discredited now because the coordinators left. They've had some offensive line changes. It's like everybody thinks because their offensive coordinator is in Chicago now, we'll just throw in the towel on the Lions. The division's better. They're in trouble. I don't necessarily agree with that. And they're getting Hutchinson back on defense, who missed just about all of last year. And if he doesn't get hurt against the Cowboys, I think he wins Defensive Player of the Year last year. He's their version of TJ Watt, Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah, I think It's tough. It's early. The NFC for me, once the 49ers kind of fell off the map and couldn't put it together, right? That was the one team that really was kind of dominating a couple years ago.
Yeah, right.
And they never could do what they needed to do. Then you find Barkley going to Philadelphia, which wins them the Super Bowl. I don't get that running game right there to what we talked about in the beginning of this show.
Yeah.
When you have a running game like that, Barkley brings a different element. And he's a different mindset, too. Hard to repeat. We understand that. Fat and happy. How many of the guys in the lineup, if you win a championship, are going to be as hungry as they were the year before? Barkley's one guy that still is. But it's a fact. It's difficult to repeat. It's hard. There's a lot going on in the offseason, everything that does that. But I still feel Philly. I got to see. I'm going to
Who's your AFC pick, Jay?
So I know I'm going to lean towards. I'm going to go with Buffalo, and that's hard. How many more times can they do it? I'm going to go Buffalo. I'm going to say Buffalo.
I think Buffalo. I mean, does Josh Allen finally get there? I think so.
I don't know. You're watching Hard Knocks? Have you watched any Hard Knocks?
I do not watch it anymore. I still think that when the NFL decided that they were going to give teams the chance to edit out all the juicy stuff, that's when they lost me.
Yeah. And also I have a hard time with, for me, cutting a player on TV. When you're being cut, that was a show. Number one, it was a show. When we saw Jerry, remember some of the ones like, hey, we really like you work hard. You're good effort. You're just there. You're just not a fit here. For having players go in there and do that. And then I've felt this all the time. I would love to have a way, and it can't be done, but I would love guys to be mic'd without them knowing it. Like, I would love to hear the real voice. Like, what's the bench really like on a hockey game? But you know what?
He's playing.
No. Yeah. They know they're mic'd. They know they're mic'd.
Yeah, you're right.
No, I know. I even know, like, when you're mic'd, it's not the same. It's not real. The stupid conversations that they show, that's the part I have a problem with. Some of the conversations that they put out there. But I still like, the part that I like about it, Pony, is the grind of a player. Like when you show them do one-on-one battles and what that's about and what it means. And then when you do come down the cut down day, they just don't need to show players when their life is going to make an immediate turn when they're let go.
Andrew, we really appreciate it. I'll see you back at the plant.
Absolutely, yeah. We got to put our hard hats on and bring our lunch pails in.
Here we go.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to see you guys. And Jay, it's been a while, man. So thanks for
great to see you.
Visit with you. Yep.
Great to see you. Glad you were here.
Want to thank One Team Media that does a tremendous job, and also North Park Lounge Cranberry, Brad and his team for hosting us. Jay?
Yeah, and Dave Rourke Automotive Group, they're outstanding to do such a good job. Dave's been a friend of ours for a long time, but his business and what they do for the clientele, take care of you after you purchase the car. Dave, thanks for being a sponsor.
We'll see you on Offset with Larry and the Big Man next time.